Well, here is the Big Smile seat. I'm working on a new rocker and some curly maple, but the Big Smile seat, I hope you can see there, it's just got a bigger smile. It, in this case, is 21 inches deep, but you can build it the original 22 inches deep, or you can use the same seat at 20 inches for the high back dining chair or the low back dining chair. It improves the sitting on both of those completely. As you can hopefully see in the front, it also has a bigger smile in the front. In developing this, I wanted seat boards 1 and seat board 5 to be part of the smile and not just have 1 and 5 kind of parallel with the bearing surface and have 2, 3, and 4 with just a big dip. So I've worked on it, and I've worked out something that I think you'll like. So let's try the Big Smile seat. A prerequisite for building the Big Smile seat is understanding the skills and the method for building the original seat. So refer back to the DVD and the book for the building the rocker or the low back chair. The original seat smile was obtained by cutting bevels on the outside edges of some of the seat boards. Well, the Big Smile seat is kind of the same thing, but only with more bevels. You always start with seat board number 3, and you put a 3-degree bevel on each outside edge, making what I think my geometry teacher said was a trapezoid. Well, then on the Big Smile seat, boards number 2 and 4, you make 3-degree bevels on the outside edges to make what appears to be a parallelogram. 2 kind of leans to the left and 4 kind of leans to the right from the front. And then seat board number 1 has on the inside edge a 3-degree bevel, and seat board number 5 has on the inside edge a 3-degree bevel. And when you join them with the dominoes or whatever you use, they make just that bigger smile. And you can see the difference there in the chart. I copied the radius or curve off of both the original and the Big Smile seat. So let's get busy making that seat. Now, after you've made all of the bevels, you should be ready to put them together and see this kind of pattern. Again, this is a trapezoid. These 2 are parallelograms. This one's leaning this way, that one's leaning that way. And 1 and 5, if they were at 90 degrees, they would just be flying kind of like wings on the end. But since they both have 3-degree bevels, it kind of brings it back so that 1 and 5 are going to be parallel with the bottom of board number 3. Now, as you tighten up, let's do the tighten up here, just like Archie Bell and the Durrells did back in the 70s. That really dates me. All right, now we can see where the smile comes from. 1, 3, and 5 are parallel with the bench top here, and 2 and 4 have that big lift on the edges to make the smile. So the next thing that we need to do is lay out the locations for the dominoes or the biscuits, whatever you're going to use. Make sure you've made a red line across the back, about an inch or an inch and a quarter in, so that when you're gluing up, you won't get board number 1 ahead of board number 5, which would make for kind of a funky back leg situation there. That's something you can just look at. It'll tell you right away whether you're in alignment or not. So let's keep on going with the Big Smile seat. Use a nice big framing square, and after you lay out the red line for alignment purposes, then about 4 or 5 inches from the back, 4 or 5 inches from the front, and splitting the difference between those two points, lay out some little short lines just across the joints here, and that's going to be where you'll put locate your dominoes or biscuits. Make those lines, and then you'll want to make a line down the inside edge of the board. And make sure you know where your top and your bottom is. This is real important. All right, this is the top of the board here. I'm going to make an X down here so I don't end up putting the domino in the wrong place. Top of the board, near about ½ inch from the bottom, is where it'll go. So mark all of those edges where the domino is going to go, and then we'll get out our domino and we'll make the mortises for those joints. We're going to start out using the domino with the fence and at a 90-degree angle. And I've got my boards marked for those that need the 90-degree angle with an L. And in other words, every joint or every mortise position for the domino on that edge of the board is going to be done using the lift method with the domino fence at 90 degrees. The other one is where we have to turn the board over and change the fence to a different position. So let's start with board number 3, and I'll show you how it's done. The way this is done for board number 3 and all of those where you lift is you line up using the top of the seat board here, the bottom of the seat board is down, and since you've got 3 degrees to lift it up, you kind of use this as a point of rotation here, this corner, and you just lift it up, and when you feel it nice and firm, then you can turn it on, plunge in, and you want to retreat completely before you let it back down. So it's come up to the edge of the board, then rotate it up 3 degrees. When it feels nice and firm, turn it on, plunge in, pull back or retreat, and then let it down. And you end up with the mortise in the right place, about ½ inch from the bottom of the board. Now, do that on all your locations on board number 3, both edges. Same thing on the inside edge of board number 4 and board number 2. Okay, we need to find the depth of, no we don't. This is the top of board number 2. Well, we've got to set our fence on our domino, and in order to set it in the right place and set the depth correctly, we need to measure the depth from the bottom of the board. So using the bottom here and a marking gauge, I can scribe a line, and that's right at the center of the mortise. I can turn this over, and I'm going to scribe a line, and that's where we want to place the mortise as far as the depth from the bottom of the board. Now, we have to do that because the domino's fence will not make an acute angle. It will only make an obtuse angle, and this is an obtuse angle. It's greater than 90 degrees. Okay, the first thing to do is find the bottom of the board, and then we want to let the fence down. So I'll loosen the fence here, rotate it down, and then I'm going to look just to see that it's flush, that we've set the 3 degrees to reality here. If I see space down here, I'll know it's not flush. All right, that feels pretty good. Well, the next thing is to try to set the depth of cut. We've got a line here, and of course mine's already preset, and right there is just a little wing on each side of the domino, and if I set that on that line, then I'm going to be perfect to plunge in and make the cut. All right, let's see how that works. This one's a lot easier. Got a line here for alignment that I drew on the bottom of the board. I can look through this little hole here in this triangle, turn it on. Plunge in, retreat, and now I'm in good shape. Go ahead and do the rest of it on the outside edges of boards 2 and 4, and the inside edges of boards 1 and 5, using the bottom of the board and this method. All right, I found the center of board number 3, which is very important because it's going to be, or should be, the center of the seat blank. So the way I did that is there is a line here that we use as a reference for our dominoes at the edge of seat board number 3, where it butts into seat board number 2, and I can use a leg of my compass right there, and I can make an arc, and then this other one, of course, is 5 inches back, make an arc there, and that's a point that should be in the center of the board. Same thing in the back, as you can use this red line at the seat joint, make an arc, do the same thing over here, and then get yourself a good straight edge and connect those 2 points right there with something that's indelible, something you're going to be able to see and hopefully won't lose, and that's going to be your center. And that's very important. So get that done, and next we're going to figure out how to make this the right width for the chair that you're making. All right, the next thing we want to do is to make the seat the width that we need for the chair we're working on. This is going to be a seat blank for a low back dining chair or a high back dining chair, and I want to keep it at about 20 inches wide. Now, the rocker would be wider. A rocker would be up to maybe 20.5 inches, but is little in width as 20 inches. So I've got this centering rule here. I can set the 0 right on it and come over 10 inches and make a mark, and come over 10 inches and make a mark, and it looks like about 1/4 of an inch needs to be removed from each edge. You should be removing the same amount if you have the right center line. So we'll do that at the table saw, and then we'll come back and we'll lay out the seat bowl. This is fun. I've got a Big Smile seat blank for the high back dining chair. It is 20 inches wide by 20 inches deep. So the next thing we need to do is lay out on boards 1 and board 5. We need to lay out for the back legs and for the front legs. I'll show you how. Well, if you're building the high back or the low back dining chair, then this is the way you want to lay out your back legs and front legs. These are the measurements. The back notch for seat board 1 or 5 is done this way. It's 3 inches in length and 2.5 inches wide. 3 inches in length and 2.5 inches wide. It needs to be square. If it's not square, back leg's never going to fit right. And then from the back of the seat board along the outside edge, 16 3/4 of an inch up to a point where you will mark the back of the front leg notch. And that front leg notch is going to be 1 3/4 of an inch long and 1/4 inch deep. So that's 2.5 inches wide, 3 inches long for the back leg notch. Start here, 16 3/4 of an inch up to the back of the front leg notch. And to find the front of the front leg notch, move another 1 3/4. That should leave you approximately 1.5 inches from the front of either the high or low back dining chair seat blank, and make that notch 1/4 inch deep. Now I'll show you how I lay it out. Okay, this is the back outside corner of board number 1, and I'm going to make a little mark with my knife here at 3 inches. I can transfer it with a square here. I can measure over 2.5 inches. And I'm going to use a marking gauge. I can set the marking gauge right there. Mark it all the way around. can also what I like about the marking, about the cut line, is I can set the gauge right in that cut line. And I can reproduce it easily. Carry it all the way around. Okay. Now, I've got it marked out, and in walnut, a lot of times if I come back and highlight it in white, it will really stand out. If I can see the cut line with the white kind of wrapped around it, it'll provide some contrast, and I can see it better at the table saw. Need all the help I can get, folks. Okay, for the front leg notch, I'm going to measure 16 3/4 of an inch. And I'm going to make a little mark with my knife there. This will be the back of the front leg notch. Then, a good way to do it is I'm marking this, or I'm setting my digital or dial caliper to 1 3/4 of an inch. And marking that. Okay, now back to the dial caliper. Set it for 1/4 of an inch. And that's going to be our depth. For this notch, just 1/4 of an inch deep. There we go. And we've got it set to 1/4 of an inch in depth, 1 3/4 of an inch in length, and it's 16 3/4 of an inch from the back of the seat. So I'll mark it the rest of the way around, and then we'll go to the table saw and we'll see what we can do about making some notches. Okay. We're ready to make the 3-inch rip cut standing on end in a jig for the back leg notch. Let's see how it goes. That looks pretty good. All right, now we're going to pop the notch out by making a cross cut that will be just shy of the 2.5 inches. That'll leave just a little bit in that corner that we can knock out with a chisel. So, yeah, let's get at it. We'll clean that up, check it for square. We should be good to go. We'll move on to the front notch. Okay, we're just going to kerf between these two lines here 1/4 of an inch deep. So first thing we have to do is get our height of cut set to get that 1/4 of an inch, but we're going to do it in little increments here. And I'm going to start out right in the middle between those two lines and kind of work up until I've got it. Almost. All right, that's right on it. Now I can just move to the right and left of that all the way over to hit each cut line. All right, that looks good. Now I can clean it up, get the little ridges off with a router plane. This little Lee Nielsen router plane is perfect for getting rid of the little ridges here in the notch. So all I do is take a piece of paper, put it on each shoulder, and then drop it down, loosen up the knurled knob here with a screwdriver, drop it down until it bottoms out. Then I can make a paper thin cut, and I can work it until I've got a nice flat bottom of the notch that hopefully matches the other one. This is just a great tool and really a lot of fun to do. And you have such control. I mean, imagine making paper thin cuts. You can't do that everywhere. I think I need maybe one more paper thin cut and I'll be there. the original rocker DVD, I used a handheld router to rabbet the notches. But this is a much better way. I've been doing it this way now for at least 3 years, and this is the way we do it in our classes. What's better about it is you don't have to keep repositioning the work, and you don't have to balance the router at the end of this cut. It's a very, very narrow piece after you've rabbeted it out. So this is just a lot easier in many respects. But like everything else, you got to know what you're doing, and you have to have the right tool. Your router table needs to be flat. You need to have flat table, flat plate, and you need to set it up so that you're getting as much of the 1/2 inch rabbet into the board as you possibly can. You got to have a starter pin, because if you don't have a starter pin, you don't have anything to leverage against at the beginning of the cut. And after you're into the cut and you're rubbing against the pilot bearing here, you're kind of good to go, and you can leave the starter pin alone. But everything has to move that way at the router table, from right to left, instead of, like with a handheld router, from left to right. So I'm going to show you the method, and hopefully it'll work for you. Now, don't worry about this, because that's going to be in a waste area. Just to show you one more time, and you need to practice this cut. What we want to do is we want to hit that, well, just to show you one more time. To show you one more time, we want to start on the starter pin. What a great name for that. And we want to swing in. If this is a clock, and this is 12 here, 3 here, 6 o'clock there, 9 o'clock there, at about 7:30, we want to swing in and start our cut. And when it is against the pilot bearing, take it all the way to the corner and then come out. Try not to go around the corner. That would be a mistake, but not one that would be deadly. Then the starter pin, swing in, start your cut, take it to the corner, and then pull straight out. Now, with the front leg notch, what you need to do is start about a third of the way from the front. So about here, start with your cut, plunge in, release from the starter pin, tap the other corner, come back to where you started, and you're going to make a little climb cut to tap the other corner. Don't go around the corner. And then come back to the middle and pull out. Same thing for both sides. And you've done it in just one pass instead of having to lower it a little bit, take a cut with a handheld router, and keep repositioning your work. This is the way to do it. All right, now we're just going to lay out the seat bowl. That will define this area as the bowl, the pommel, and in the back, the deck. And now you know the names of all the parts. There will be a test later, so keep your references handy. And I've got the pattern laid out. And now I'm just going to trace it all the way around. And that looks good. Now we'll flip it over and do the other side. How about that? That sounds like a smart way to work, huh? Let's see what we could do. Yeah. Now, I made some little stops here so that when the clamp pulls it up, I'll have something to push against. That works pretty nice. Now, let's come up here and drop back about 4 inches. I'm laying out the high back dining chair or the low back dining chair on a 20-inch deep seat. So that's all there is to that. Later on, if we're doing the high back chair, we'll find our place on our deck back here for all 5 spindles. If you're doing a rocker, you can use your patterns and go ahead and lay out a 22-inch or even a 21-inch deep rocker seat. But now we're ready to move forward. The next thing we'll do is lay out board number 3 for bandsawing. Now it's really getting to be fun. All right, the next thing to do is to prepare to bandsaw some material out of the seat. This point right here is the back of the seat bowl. This is the deck. We don't want to cut into the deck. And so I've got a nice little pattern made out here that the main points to align are right there at the where the seat bowl line runs to the edge, and right down here in the front to make sure it flushes out. That way you can use it with several different thicknesses of material. Sometimes you'll have 2 inches, sometimes maybe at even 1 3/4 inches, and that makes it more versatile. So, all right, it's as simple as placing a line there. I've already done the same thing on the other side. Now, you have to bandsaw it on each side. There are really 2 cuts. Now, there's something very, very important here, and that is that you don't want to cut past right here. And so you want to cut along and then pull out right there. If you don't, you're going to cut your pommel off, and you don't want to cut your pommel off. Sounds like something from those of you that are old enough to remember Johnny Carson. You don't want to cut your pommel off, believe me. So, this would be like cut number 1 along this line, and then cut number 2 right here. And it's going to leave a little ridge down the middle because you've got 3 degrees on each side there, and that can easily be taken out. And then we're going to use the grinder to take off this little bit in the front, leaving the pommel. So let's go ahead, we'll go to the bandsaw and we'll see what we can do. All right, now I'm going to take it over to the grinder, and what I want to do is I want to make several passes, first making flats like at 45 degrees to the edge of this board, make several passes, and I'm going to take this corner right here and I'm going to kind of take it down. And then once I get a little material out of the way, I'll be able to move away from, kind of scooping away from the pommel on both sides and smooth it out so that this becomes a line, this becomes kind of a hard line, and this whole area in here will be gone, kind of scooped out. Then we can, after we do the other side, use that to trace boards number 2 and 4. Well, let's go to the grinder. really just doing one facet over another facet. And I can see, as long as I keep them flat, I can see where I've been working and see where I need to work. Now I'm going to use the shape of the tool. Actually, the shape of the pad, in this case, which is the tool. Put a little bit of a concave profile to it. Now I can kind of use it like a gouge, coming away from the pommel. All right, I'll do the same thing with the other side. And while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and catch this little bit back here at the back of the seat, and we'll be ready to mark out boards 2 and 4. All right, there are a couple of things I want you to understand first before we mark out board 2 and board 4 on the seat boards that we're working on. This is one for a rocker that is all glued up and ready for shaping with a grinder. And later on I'll show you that process. But for right now, I want to show you what we're trying to achieve. This is the bottom of the bowl here, bottom of the seat bowl. And we're trying to achieve kind of a sameness in the radius that works down to that point. And so to do that, with boards 2 and 4, we need to make a cut with the bandsaw. In fact, 2 cuts on each board with the bandsaw. One saw cut is going to take care of this, and another saw cut is going to take care of this. And so this one will be done at 9 degrees, and this one will adjust on the fly to make sure that the top edge of our board number 2 or board number 4 is parallel to the bottom edge of board number 2 or 4. So we'll make that adjustment at the bandsaw. So let me show you how to mark out boards 2 and 4 so we can achieve this really great seat bowl. Okay, we're going to mark out boards 2 and 4. And this is a little bit tricky, but it's not too hard. In fact, all you have to do now is line them up in the proper orientation and trace a line down the edge of board number 3. Now, the interesting thing is we're going to make a cut at 9 degrees at the bandsaw that will come out here. And all we're going to do is kind of scoop out that seat bowl at an angle so that it'll be deeper here and not near as deep on this other side. So let's go to the bandsaw and make that cut. First, I'd like you to notice a couple of very important things. On board number 4, we're going to start at just inside the back of the seat bowl. Now, we won't have to worry about cutting off our deck back here because the table has been tilted to 9 degrees. But we're not going to start right on that line. We're going to play it safe and maybe come in a good 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch, and then come down to the line and cut all the way out to the end of this cut right here. And remember, don't cut all the way to the front because we're going to come back later with setting the saw to a different degree to make that cut in front. But board number 4, we're going to start back here at the back of the seat bowl. Now, board number 2, we're going to start at the front and we're going to cut toward the back. And both cuts are going to be made on the higher end of the tilted bandsaw table. So think about it as you do it. Make sure the orientation is correct, and always ask the question, if I make this cut, am I achieving what I want to achieve? All right, well, we'll start with board number 4 and we'll make the cut. Well, we've made our first bandsaw cuts at 9 degrees, and so we can take the cutoff away here, and you can see what we have. We have just a nice plunge down to the bowl of the seat, equal to the bottom of the seat bowl on board number 3. Same thing over here. So now the next thing is we've got to make a cut on the front to come down to this line that we traced from the inside of board number 3. Now to do that, we're going to set the bandsaw, and our goal is to be able to set the bandsaw where it will cut on this line and cut all the way back to here. So we want to be able to cut all of this off and have it kind of flat, so then we can mark out the side of board number 5 here. Of course, the same thing applies for board number 2 and board number 1. So let's go ahead and take this to the bandsaw, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, what we want to do here is we're going to have to make the cut on this line, and we're going to pick it up right here, the part that we haven't cut off that line yet, and we're going to push it through this way, ending up with a cut that's parallel to the bottom of the board. So all you're going to do is, after you draw this line on the front, then just tilt your bandsaw until it matches up real good. And like this one is a little more than 3 degrees, we'll bandsaw that off. Now, on board number 2, you'll have a little different situation. You'll have to start at the front and make the cut to the back, because they will be kind of mirror opposites. So let's make the cut. Now, the object is to be able to draw a line that will give us the profile for seat board number 5 or seat board number 1. Now, if you've got some transitions here from the bandsawing, just fair your curve a little bit. Don't go too deep. Make sure you're not deep back here. That would be a tragedy at this point. And then take your grinder and remove all of this down to the line. Again, don't get too deep back in here. And then draw a line at the front from here to there. Draw a nice line across there and grind that away. And so I wouldn't get right on top of this line at this point, but you want to remove as much of it as is necessary, so that when you start trying to smooth it all out, you'll have a good transition. So that's what you do, and after you've done that, you glue it up. And then you smooth out the seat. Well, I'm going to go ahead and smooth these boards 1 and 5 out. Take this out, and then I'll show you what it looks like before we glue it up. Well, I've started working down to this line on the inside of board number 5. Remember, just take some flats and kind of keep scooping it down to the line. Don't go past the line. Now moving to the front. Now you've got a lot to take off in the front here. It's nice if you just make one kind of big triangular flat. line. That's pretty good. Now we can knock the corners off of that. Okay, now I'm down almost to my line. I can work on this part back here. Just make another flat. Go. Starting to look good. Now let's work in the front here. Definitely see where you've been working. Pull this down some more. Stop and feel of it. Touch is huge when you're sculpting. I'm gonna use it like a gouge again. Make some long strokes, imparting a concave shape from the edge of the pad. Well, that's starting to look pretty good. I think we need to work a little bit more here and get a little closer to the line, but let's don't get too deep. I think I'll move on to board number 1. All right, we're ready to glue it up now. And we have really nice curve already down toward the bottom of the seat bowl. And we can work all of that out, smooth it out after it's glued up with the grinder. And we've got a nice little curve right here. And it drops into this seat bowl, a curve away from the pommel. And all right, so now you need to do a dry fit, and then you need to put glue on. I do not glue in the dominoes. If glue gets in the hole, that's fine. I kind of stack them up and tap them from the backside with a mallet till I get everything lined up. Put a couple of clamps on, 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top. Now look, make sure all my joints have pulled up real good and are nice and tight, and a little squeeze out is always good. So get it glued up, and I'll show you what a glued up seat looks like in the next clip. Well, here we have a Big Smile rocker seat that's been glued up, and it's got a great bowl, just kind of rolls in like this. And I really didn't do a good job on these transitions right in here from the 9 degrees to the 3 degrees. In order to, I didn't smooth these out. So now I'm going to have to do that with the grinder while it's all glued up, but that's okay. And I'm going to move this way, away from the bowl line, away from the pommel with the grinder. Smooth this right in here, and smooth it all down to the middle. This makes a nice S-curve to the front. It'll be scooped out, of course, and just a lot of work with the grinder. But if you'll use it from the edges in, smoothing toward that center, and put some red lines at the joints here at the lowest part of the seat bowl. If you'll put some red right in there, that'll be kind of the place to stop. In other words, don't go any deeper. Yeah, I'm going to work on this, but I want to show you one that has already been all smoothed out, and we'll talk about it. It's the Big Smile seat. When it's all smoothed out, it's worth the effort. We have that big 9 degrees we took out of 2 and 4, nice gentle slope into the seat bowl. Those 5 degrees, or excuse me, 3 degrees worked out real well on 2 and 4. It provides everything with just that nice little smile. And the underside of the seat's important too. You've got to fair those joints into something that has a curve. And at the front, up here, right in here, you need to cut into the seat bottom. Cut up into it, just a little bit into that joint, so that the seat looks like it's sagging away from the leg joint here. You do those things and do them well, and you'll have a seat that will make you happy for years. Thank you so much for building the Big Smile seat.